Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another Sewcialites Quilt Along created by Fat Quarter Shop. We are doing block 33, the inspired block designed by Lori Holt. And there are 3 different block sizes you can do. There's a 3-inch, a 6-inch, and a 9-inch block, and I have picked the middle one, the 6-inch block. And if you are joining along with me, wonderful, and thank you all for being here. And I will show you what I have cut in the background fabric and the printed fabric. Lots of pieces today, but it's so cute. It is a sewing machine, so I think that's adorable. In the 6-inch block, I've cut 1.5 by 3.5 inch rectangle. I labeled it A, and all the labels are down this side right here. So I've cut 2 1.5 by 2.5 inch rectangles. I have 2 1.5 by 2 inch rectangles. I have 1 1.5 inch square and another 1.5 inch square, and I have 3 1-inch squares, itty bitty square. In the printed fabrics, I have 1 2.5 by 4.5 inch rectangle, 1 2.5 by 3 inch rectangle. I have 1 2-inch by 6.5 inch rectangle, 2 1.5 by 2 inch rectangles, and 1 1.5 inch square. First step is we are going to assemble this unit here. So we're going to take A, K, and D, one of each, and I will grab those and show you the layout. Here we go. I have A, K, and D all set, and this is the way it's laid out. And I'm just going to sew A to K and then iron it open. And you're going to want to do a 1/4 inch seam, and then D to K, and then sew a 1/4 inch seam and iron it out. When I come back, this will be done and I will show you the next step. Okay, so I have my pieces sewn together here. This is the top part of the sewing machine. I'm going to put that aside, and the next step is we need H, E, and F. Both F's here, and we are going to need to draw a diagonal line on the wrong side of E. So I have drawn a diagonal line. I'm not sure if you can see that right there. And we are going to place it in the lower left corner right here, just like this. And we're going to sew along that line and then cut a 1/4 inch seam, iron it open. Then for F, you need to also draw a diagonal line on both your pieces here, as I've done. And you are going to place one here and do the same thing as you did for E. Sew on that diagonal line and cut it a 1/4 inch seam, iron it open, and then you're gonna do it on the top right corner as well, and sew and cut a 1/4 inch seam. So when I come back, I will have this finished block, and you should make one of these. So here we have the sewing machine front unit, and this is what it should look like. I'm going to put that aside, and we are going to take there's this unit here and your B pieces right here, and we are going to sew the B here, and you're gonna also want J as well. So what I would do is I would sew this B to here, 1/4 inch seam, and then these two together, 1/4 inch seam, and then once that's done, iron them open, and then you would take this unit and sew it to this unit. So I have these 2 units sewn together now, and now all I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure this seam matches with this point here, and I noticed that these pieces are a little bit longer, so I will trim them down to match this piece right here. So basically right sides together, and I'm gonna put a pin right there and sew my 1/4 inch seam, iron it open, and cut off the excess. It should make one unit of the left sewing machine, part of the sewing machine. So here is the unit and what it looks like after I've sewn it together. And I did try this like sort of halfway and it didn't line up. So once I lined the bottom of the units together, it lined up perfectly. I'm just gonna cut off this excess little piece of material and this block will be done. And I can show you the next step. Just sort of line it up on your grid inches and give it a trim. There we go. So cute. All right, I'm gonna put that aside and I am going to pick my piece G and F. Did I not cut enough F? Apparently I did. All right, I'll be right back. This is our last F piece, which of course you have a diagonal line on the back, and that's where you're gonna sew, and you are going to sew it on the top left corner just like this. I don't know, I had 3 and it must have disappeared. What happened with my other F, so I had to cut another one. They're so small, they float away. All right, I'm gonna sew this. This is the center of the sewing machine. So I'll sew this, iron it open. So here's the finished piece of the center of the sewing machine. And next you are going to take your 2C background fabrics that you have and your last J piece, and you're going to stick that in the middle of these 2 pieces and sew these together to the J fabric, a 1/4 inch seam. After that, this will be your last unit, and this is the right side of the sewing machine unit. Then I will show you all the blocks together and we'll sew them all. All right, here's the right side of the sewing machine, and now we are going to take all the pieces we have. So we have, this is the top eye, which is supposed to go down here, this top, so like this, and there we go. Now we have them all sorted out. That's a little spool of thread on top of the sewing machine. That's it. What we're gonna do is these 2 pieces first. I'm gonna do that first. So let's sew this. All right, so I have these 2 units sewn together now. Now I'm gonna take the top part of the sewing machine and sew it together. And I'm gonna line up these 2 seams right here. Make sure they line up and they intersect, and sew 1/4 inch seam, just like that. Now we have this unit sewn, and now we have the right side, and sew 1/4 inch seam, and then if there's any excess, then we'll cut it off and add this guy, the bottom part. Sewing machine, it's adorable. Love it. And there is what the block looks like with the little sewing machine. I'm just gonna put the base on now. So we have eye here, and I'm gonna put it right sides together and sew 1/4 inch seam and iron it open. I'll be back with the finished block. And here is the finished inspired block designed by Lori Holtz. I hope you enjoyed this video and tutorial on how to make this block. It was so much fun. Thank you all. I want to show you what we are doing next week. We are doing block 34, the Passion block, designed by Carrie Nelson. You have your 3 different sizes and what you need to cut. So if you are following along with me, just pick your correct size and follow what you need to cut. I'm doing 6 inch. I need 2 3 3/4 inch squares in the background fabric and 4 1.5 by 2 inch rectangles also in the background fabric. In the printed fabric, I will need 4 1.5 inch by 3 inch rectangles, 4 2 inch squares, and 1 1.5 inch square. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you all, and Happy New Year to everyone. Have a wonderful quilt day. Bye.